Incoming transmission.
Welcome, Watchers of Illusion, to my Castle of Confusion on the 18th of April 2025, kicking you into the weekend with a rather splendid job on the Game Boy Advance. This is Pokémon LeafGreen version, yes. Now this is the counterpart to FireRed, and I do believe it was the first foray into the Pokémon world on the Game Boy Advance, which is rather cool, actually. I did actually own these. I've still got these somewhere, actually. I definitely got FireRed somewhere. I've still got Pokemon Gold and Silver as well. In fact, I've got quite a lot of the DS versions of Pokemon. But yeah, Leaf Green, FireRed, Sapphire, Ruby, all of those. We got all of those. But these games were awesome. And although Pokemon is very much engineered towards children, it's bloody addictive for an adult as well. And on each of these games, you get to name yourself and your rival. I'm going to be really mature now. And our rival's name is going to be Poohead, because why not? Exactly. So, Professor Oak, right, doesn't seem to understand that his grandson's name is Poohead, yet he has been his granddad for a long time. He forgot his grandson's name. We have reminded him in the most evil of ways. Anyway, so jumping from the Game Boy Color to the Game Boy Advance was a pretty big deal, to be honest. I think the only disappointment that I got from this game, and all subsequent Pokemon games really, was the lack of actual Pokemon noises. It was always done in these like shrill sort of sound effects rather than the actual, voice actors coming in and doing it. I think that could have been really, really cool. But it's the same with Pokemon Stadium. It's the same with any of the subsequent games, in the N64 ones. I don't think we've ever had a game where they actually use the proper sound effects for the Pokemon that we're catching, which is a shame. But I guess it's a lot of data to get, considering there's over 500 odd Pokemon now. And when I was playing these games, I think it was 150, and that was a fair amount. In fact, true story, I had a game on the original Game Boy. I had Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, and Pokemon Blue. And on Pokemon Red, I'd managed to acquire all 150 Pokemon. And then a friend of mine came in one day, picked up my Game Boy, turned on the game, and then hit New Game. Well, for those of you that don't know, Pokemon can only sustain one save file at a time, or it could back then. Essentially, it just wiped all my data, which was joyful. Not, I could have killed him, but that was a long time ago. And I still haven't forgiven the bastard. Anyway, so we can see here, it's a lovely jump from the GBC to the GBA. Although the storylines remain the same pretty much, grab yourself a starting Pokemon, then you battle the gym leaders and all that kind of stuff. So this is what this game's about. But you do get all of the excellent Pokemon stuff in full colour now as well, which is nice, and obviously updated graphics. So all the Pokemon look as they should. You look as you should, really. Well, I suppose you're supposed to be kind of like the Ash Ketchum version of the TV show, but you can be whoever you like. You can be yourself. You can even be a person of the opposite sex if you so wish it. So there. Anyway, I thought we would go into the weekend with this one, because this is a rather splendid game, and it is very, very cool. And if you're a Pokemon fan, you're absolutely going to love this up. And if you are a Pokemon fan, the chances are that you've played this already. So I want to hear from you in the comments. Let's get that out of the way early. Let's have a Pokemon discussion. What was your favourite Pokemon, starter Pokemon, and why? There's a good question. I normally picked Charmander, but because we're going with Pokemon LeafGreen, I thought we'd go with Bulbasaur, and we'll go through a little bit of the game with him, and we'll go through it. So the first thing we're going to notice is the graphics are bright, they're colourful, and they are more detailed than we've ever seen them before in a Pokemon game. And that is very, very good. I remember first seeing these on the shelves. I used to work at Game, which used to be Electronics Boutique, and it was Electronics Boutique when these first started coming through, I believe. I could be wrong, it might have been Game at that point. But Poohead's being a real Poohead. Technically speaking, this Pokemon should wipe the floor with mine because fire beats plant, but they don't have any of their like special abilities at this point. Now you will run into your rival several times over the course of the game, so you'll have plenty of opportunities to kick his butt using some of the more advanced techniques as you go along, which again is cool. Now the way you catch Pokemon is fairly simple. You can go to a nearby Pokemon Center, or a Pokemart as they're called, and then you can buy some Pokeballs from there. Now you will get 5 to start with. The Professor will give you 5 to start with pretty soon on in the game, actually, I think. Then you can go out into the long grass, and long grass will provoke Pokemon to attack you, which is really, really bizarre. But that's how you get them anyway. Then you battle that Pokemon until they get into the red in their health, and then you can throw a Pokeball at them and hopefully catch them. Now that is all fair and well for the early Pokemon, but when you get higher up, you're going to need the Ultra Ball. Then there's several others as well. Master Ball, I think, was the other one. But you will get those, and you'll find Pokeballs out in the world as well, just randomly tucked away in little places, along with potions and other great items. So this is really a game that you're going to invest a lot of time in, so thank goodness it has a save option, and it saves directly to the cartridge, so that's nice. I do recommend, if you've not played a Pokemon game before and you have that sort of instinct to want to have a play, this is a good one to start with. Like I say, its counterpart is FireRed, so if you've got 2 Game Boys and you've got each a copy of the game, you can then trade Pokemon over, so you can even trade over those elusive starter Pokemon. So you can have Bulbasaur, Charmander and Squirtle if you have the option to link up, which is cool, which means you get all of the classic 3 on one cart, which is rather cool. That's the way I used to try and do things, because I just really enjoyed playing with those 3 Pokemon in particular. But there you are. So I'm not sure if legendary Pokemon were part of this game at this point. I know possibly that Mew and Mewtwo were, because they were in the original GB, the Game Boy versions, and I believe in the Game Boy Color ones as well. In fact, Game Boy was... Pokemon wasn't in Game Boy, was it? It was Game Boy Color. It was just Game Boy Color. It was red, yellow and blue, and I do believe it was just GBC, not GB, not the standard black and white Game Boy, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments, because it's too late. It's too late in the evening for me to be worrying about that. But you can see here that we have the rival Pokemons here attacking us. We will get XP for defeating them, which is how we actually level up our Pokemon to give them new skills and stuff, along with other things later on. You get some trading materials and stuff like that, and some attack discs and things you can give your Pokemon, and they will get their abilities and different abilities as you go along, which is pretty sweet. You only have 4 at a time, so once you learn a new one, you'll have to drop an old one. Sometimes it's beneficial, sometimes it isn't, so choose wisely. And so you can see they're running through the long grass there, and we have been attacked a couple of times already, so there we go. You get hints and tips from some of the people in the game, so it's always worth talking to them, even if it seems like a bit of a chore to do so. It's worth having to do that, because they will give you little hints and tips as you go through. You'll also find rogue trainers as well, which will just attack you on sight, but you can get money from that, so that's a good way of getting yourself some Pokeballs from the mart and all that stuff. Pokemon centers, you can use those to rejuvenate your Pokemon, so if they get knocked out, for example, you will automatically port to the nearest Poke Center and get yourself and your Pokemon revived. But But you can also walk in and do it anyway. It costs you nothing, so that's quite nice. So the controls in the game are quite simple. It's up and down, left and right to navigate your way around the screen. Start will bring up the menu, and then you've got A and B for selecting stuff like that, and that's all you need. It's fairly simple. You'll get other things later on as well. You'll get running shoes, you'll get a bike, that kind of thing, which will help you along your way. The sound in the game is fantastic, and I've got to say that the soundtrack is very, very good. And I find myself to this day still whistling the theme tunes in this game. And I'm probably going to be doing that now I've played it again for the first time in years. I'm probably going to be doing that as well, so yay. Earworms are the best, aren't they? Now here we are in the Pokemon Center, and I'm going to give the nursey nurse my one and only Pokemon. We'll catch some more hopefully before this video is finished, but let's rock and see what we can do. But the game is huge as well, so you've got many hours of play here. And this leads me on to gameplay. It's such a playable game, and it's incredibly addictive, so don't even think for a second that you're going to be going anywhere soon once you start playing. Just settle in and accept your fate, that you are going to be stuck playing this for hours on end. But that is a good sign of a good game. So have fun and enjoy it. It's a very fun game, along with all the others as well. So like I say, if you have got Pokemon FireRed, or you've got a friend that's got it and you've got LeafGreen, you can trade over network. And I think with emulators these days, you can even emulate the network across. So go and have a go. So there you are. Replay value is absolutely on the money. You're just going to keep coming back to this, because you can save it, and you've got 150 Pokemon to collect in total. It's going to take you some time to be able to go through all the regions and all the different places to find said Pokemon, and add them to your Pokédex. Speaking of which, is just what we're on our way to get now, ironically. So there we go. Oh, I'm getting attacked by a Rattata. There we go. So yeah, all the Pokemon are here. You'll find different ones in different regions, different areas. So I think Pikachu pops up in the forest region, along with sort of Caterpie and other of the bug Pokemon as well, which is cool. In this opening area, you'll find Rattatas and Pidgeys, and they're quite frequent. So get used to that. Bulbasaur is a nice starting Pokemon, by the way. You do get Leech Seed quite early on, so that's quite a nice ability to have, and you'll hopefully we'll be able to show you that as well in the vid. So let's get back to Professor Oak and see what he's got for us, and see if Poohead makes a reappearance, because he does. He just pops up every now and again. But yeah, so if you are a Pokemon fanatic, go and have a go at this game. It shouldn't be too hard to find a copy. There's also Google, and Google can be your best friend. But just be careful where you get it from. Not all sites are safe. Alright, that's my advice to you. And I am using Emu Hawk for this one. Like, I use Emu Hawk for quite a lot, because it's a multi-emulator, and it's very good actually. It's being developed quite a bit, so it's still current, and updates are frequent. So there you go. Emu Hawk, EMUHAWK. Emu Hawk, yes. So there. Anyway, I will be seeing you again on Monday, where we count down to the 800th review. I can't believe we're almost at that point. You'll get a demo sometime over the weekend. It'll either Saturday or Sunday, but keep your eyes open for that. Have a lovely Easter weekend. Easter weekend, I nearly said. Have a lovely Easter break, everybody. I'll be back on Monday. Hope you're feeling good on Monday and you're not too slouchy with having gorged yourself on chocolate eggs. But I really hope you have a great Easter anyway. I'll catch you again Monday. Until then, you keep it retro, and as usual, it's bye for now. Bye-bye!
Welcome, stranger, I know why you're here. You remember games from the yesteryear. Games with pixels and that bleep bloop sound. But boy, they were the very best games in town. We light up the night, neon dreams in our eyes. Arcade machines whispering low. Pixelated worlds where we all come alive. Level up high, let the good times flow. Joystick in hand where we live in the past. High scores and laughter, we're making it last. With every coin drop, we're forging a bond. In this pixel paradise, we'll always respond. Welcome to the Retro Gaming Club, where the 8-bit dreams never fade away. Gaming to the beat of our favorite tunes. Let's play till the dawn, we'll never lose. Neon lights shining, we're lost in the glow. In the Retro Gaming Club, let's go, let's go. Flashback to battles, we'll play side by side. Power-ups and hearts, love in disguise. We'll race through the levels, collect all the coins. In this timeless adventure, we're waiting to join. Crashing 8-bit beats, igniting the night. From pixels to dreams, we'll take flight. With every button pressed, our spirits ignite. In this retro wonderland, everything feels right. Welcome to the Retro Gaming Club, where the 8-bit dreams never fade away. Gaming to the beat of our favorite tunes. Let's play till the dawn, we'll never lose. Neon lights shining, we're lost in the glow. In the Retro Gaming Club, let's go, let's go.